The EPM mission reads that we are a resource and voice for financial empowerment. The EPM vision, which is connected to the EPM way, is to continue to offer financial service, communication, and assistance to the communities we serve.
What makes us different is our loan officers. They care about the people. Our number one message in this company is the customer. Always do everything you can for that customer.
We as a staff work together as a team, and we also on one page, one goal, to know that the end goal is the other person, which is the home buyer.
The big thing that we want to do is provide financial empowerment to our consumers. The ramifications of not owning versus owning is very vast. So it's really about maximizing your earning potential to build wealth.
Our diversity, it's a large part of what sets us apart. And the way we look at business with an empathic approach, we do care.
I have grown up here. I've pretty much done almost every position here and have just grown and learned throughout the 10 years and been given tons of opportunity to advance. I can't tell you how much this place means to me.
My favorite part of EPM is the relationships that we build. I mean, I see my coworkers more than I even see my family throughout the week. So it's important that we have that relationship with each other. I know that I'm going to work hard with my coworkers, but I also know that I'm going to be able to have a fun time with them.
When you join EPM, it's like you are gaining a huge, giant family. The people here are just funny and amazing.
The 23 Fundamentals, or the EPM way, is our new culture plan. They are led by great communication, ethics, morals. All in all, they make us better. They make us EPM. The idea of work and home is truly been blurred. So when our culture plan was created, we wanted to transcend just being in the office.
It's really about being a brotherhood, a sisterhood, but it's still all about one mission and one objective, is to make sure that we're not only leading to financial empowerment, but we're growing our communities, we're serving our communities, we're growing our individuals.
Most of the loans we're doing are for families. It's the biggest investment in their lives.
For me to know that every little part that goes into the end goal of home ownership makes a difference, and we're playing a big part of that for that prospective home buyer to have their future home.
There's certain programs that not every lender offers, and we try to offer as many of those programs as possible so anybody could kind of fit the mold with a program that we have and offer that to them, so then they could get that purchase done and own a home.
You know, the gold standard is treat somebody how you would want to be treated. I think that's the way people would want to be treated best. They want to make sure that somebody's looking out for their best interest, not yours, not the company, not the industry. So you definitely got to put yourself in their shoes and empathize and make sure you're looking and more importantly, listening very, very generously to what they're saying and what they're trying to accomplish.
It feels amazing to know that my team and I were able to contribute to a prospective buyer having their home. And for that home buyer to finally walk into the doors and have their home is just amazing, and we contributed to that.
It gives you a sense of pride in what we're doing here and gratitude to be able to help out those people get things and achieve their goals as well.
A lot of people talk about care, and the only way to truly care is through showing action and showing what you're doing for them in that moment.
We're able to help people to achieve the American dream, which is home ownership. But it's not just home ownership. That's your home. That's your family. So generations can be there just by one impactful movement that we do.
Live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the eRacing Association's 2022 Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup SpringBowl. And welcome in to the ERA pre-race show powered by Equity Prime Mortgage as we get you set to go sim racing tonight for more than $5,000 at the virtual World Center of Racing. Alongside of myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined as always in the podium booth by NASCAR driver Jesse Wuji, Gary Sexton as well. Alongside our producer downstairs is Ryan Bauer. And Jesse, I'll go to you first on this one. We're back at it again for the SpringBowl. Feels like when we did this back in 2021, right back here at Daytona, but we continue using this new next-gen car, and it provides another unique challenge as right now 50 plus drivers are trying to qualify into a field of 40 to race for that $5,000.
Yeah, there is a lot on the line for tonight. $5,000. These drivers who are racing from home, they're not racing in real life. They're not at Daytona right now. There isn't any threat of, them running into a wall, maybe even getting hurt or flipping their vehicle or anything like that. They're at home right now, sitting in a cockpit, sitting in a simulator that anybody can purchase and put in their home and compete. And right now they are about to fight for $5,000. That is real cash money. It's not credits. It's not an IOU. It's none of that. It is $5,000. And big thanks to EPM Equity Prime Mortgage for being on board for our SpringBowl, our Omega Cup. We've been putting on these events since the end of 2020. We've been giving away a ton of money to racers who love to sim race, folks who maybe are not running in real life. Some of them are running in real life. Some of them are actually racing in the different NASCAR national series or even regional series and even weekly series. Some folks have never even raced a real car in their life, but they're on the sim racing platform of iRacing right now competing, and they all want that cash prize. And somebody is going to go home with $4,000 tonight. Not even go home because they're already at home. They're going to take it away and be a pretty happy person.
Not a bad night out, and I think when we do these events, that's the best part that we talk about, is that level playing field that the iRacing service offers, Gary, for all of these drivers to compete, right? And we've seen many different car track combinations through the last year and a half with these ERA events, but these next-gen cars at Daytona have been kind of the talk of the town for the last few weeks in the iRacing and sim racing circles. It should be a really competitive event where everybody who makes the feature race here has an equal shot at walking away with the $4,000 for first place.
Yeah, absolutely. iRacing has put together probably one of the best plate racing super speedway packages they have ever with this next gen car. There's the ability for an experienced guy to really control the lanes and work to stay out front. But also there's the ability to generate runs, work with a teammate. If you have anybody in the field that you're working with, you're going to be at a great advantage because you can get two of these cars linked up and go right to the front. I look for the high line to work, the low line to work. Middle line, maybe not so much, but there will be some guys that will definitely try to push it through.
We talk about how there's 50 plus drivers trying to get into this. We'll talk through the nuances of what we'll see over the course of 150 miles when we get racing here tonight. But, first and foremost, we talk about Daytona, Jesse. This is quintessential NASCAR, right? You ask a casual viewer, somebody who doesn't follow the sport, everybody knows Daytona. Everybody knows the home of the Daytona 500. We have seen lots of racing here in the last couple of weeks with all of NASCAR's National Series here on the service as well. And I mentioned that this is a racetrack that really levels the playing field. As Gary mentioned, veteran sim racers, veteran real world drivers can certainly use some tools, controlling the lanes, controlling runs to give them an advantage. But at the end, everybody in this race has a legitimate shot to be the winner of this SpringBowl.
They all have a legitimate shot to be a winner here, and that's a cool thing about Daytona. I actually just raced in real life in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Daytona. I had a really good time doing it, but at the end of the day, it's all about being smart. Drivers do have to get aggressive. They do have to make moves. They do have to be smart. They have to listen to their spotters. They have to listen to their crew chiefs. Some of these folks have real crew chiefs on the other line, talking to them about, strategy and what to do during the race, spotters guiding them through to make sure they stay safe. All these different things going on that's going on in a driver's head. He's hearing it. They're competing out there. There's a lot of aggression. There's passion. Sometimes there's emotions. All this stuff is happening, but you got to keep a good, clean, and focused head on your shoulder, because at the end of the day, the only way to win is, in order to finish first, you must first finish. You can be as aggressive as you want early, but if you don't make it to the end of the race, you don't have a shot at winning at all. So it's all about being smart, but you got to have a little bit of aggression throughout that race and show everybody that, you know what, I'm not going to be a punk out there. I'm not going to get pushed around. I'm not going to let you bully me. I'm going to make my way up front. I'm going to hold what I got. I'm going to make it to the end and try to win $4,000 and really make their week, make their month, make their year.
Well, and somebody who has tasted that taste of victory here in the past with the Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup is Garrett Conrath. He won the Winter Bowl just a couple of months ago when that race took place in Fontana, Jesse, and we've got him on the pre-race show now.
How's it going, Garrett?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. So it's great to see you back again here in our Omega Cup Spring Bowl, and you've obviously had some success in these events that we've been putting on over the last year. How does it feel to be back again competing here? Working your way into this main event. What does that mean to you? And also, what's going on in your mind? I mean, there's a lot of money on the line here at Daytona, where really anybody can win.
Yeah, you just said it there. Pretty much anybody can win at Daytona, so I feel like I got a good shot. I'm starting third place, and gets me up front pretty early. So, I mean, there's any one of 15, 20 guys, I think, that have a real shot at winning this thing. So we'll see how it goes, and I feel pretty good about it.
So what does track position mean to you? I know you're starting up front, you're up there, but how important is it? Because, I mean, it is somewhat a long race. I mean, you got a lot of time, a lot can happen. Everybody's seen for Daytona, you can be up front, running on the front row, and within a lap or two be 15th, 16th. Like, you can get shuffled around really easy depending on what's going on for which lanes. How important is that track position for you? Is it something that's important early, or something that's just a lot more important for you late in the game?
I think it'll be super important late in the game. Early in the race, you want to just make sure you don't lose the draft, because you get too far back, the pack might get split up and you could lose the draft. But late in the race, you want to be towards the front, because you'll never know which line is going to start moving, and if you can get to the front in time. So you want to make sure you're up there to put yourself in position.
That makes a lot of sense. So you've been racing in the heat races prior to this. You've been practicing with some of these folks. What are the tempers looking like? I mean, it is a somewhat of a new group of people you're racing against. There's some people here that you've raced against in prior events. There's some that you haven't. What are you feeling? How does it look out there? How are people acting, reacting, or do you think it's a calm crowd, or do you think it's a pretty aggressive one?
A little mixed bag. I know about probably half the people in here. I've raced with them plenty of times, so I know how they race. There's a lot of names I don't recognize, so it's kind of an unknown of what they're going to be like. So just try to get comfortable with the guys up front and see what we do.
Well, sounds like a good sound strategy. Thank you so much for competing in this event, and good luck to you, and hopefully we see you in victory lane.
I hope we do too. Thanks.
Well, that is our most recent winner here in the Z-Racing Association special events. And, talking about all the drivers that are going to be competing here tonight. Another one is Donovan Strauss, driver in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series for Williams Esports. Donovan, you've got plenty of sim experience. You're no stranger to big moments, but racing tonight, $4,000 to tonight's winner. I wasn't going to bring it up. I know the race at Daytona last week wasn't the best for you. How do you find redemption here tonight? I see you working on the mic. We'll try to get you dialed up here and chat with you. Of course, we talk about some of the drivers who compete in that Coke series. They all raced here just
there we go.
Tonight. You got me now?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that.
You just didn't like my questions.
No,
racing here on Daytona last week included. Obviously, you're not racing with all the guys you're familiar with, but what's the plan of attack?
I think you're just going to want to stay up front all night long, and it's a short race, only 60 laps, a little shorter than what we had to do with on Tuesday, even though I only made it 6 laps. But I think it's just you want to stay up front, and I think if it's anything I've learned, it's you want to stay out of the trouble. And my plan is just to stay up here. I'm working with Garrett and Max Brady and them, so we're going to try and just stay up front the whole time, and hopefully we can, pull the right strategy off and have a chance at $4,000 at the end.
Like generally speaking, a lot of drivers have given pretty positive feedback onto how this draft package works with these next gen cars. What is your interpretation of them been like? What's that learning curve, and what's the key to being successful tonight, and certainly being patient to get to the end?
I think, you just want to, like I said, it takes a lot, like you said, it takes a lot of patience, and I think you just got to stay really patient with, the draft and everything, and staying in the line and not being over aggressive, because the moment you make an over aggressive move, I mean, we saw it on Tuesday, it causes a big wreck, and you don't want to be involved in that, and you want to be around at the end and have a chance at the money and the win. And what the plan is for me, I'm just going to try and stay up front. And if I have to make some aggressive moves to stay up front, then I'm going to do it, because I'm not going to give up the track position I have, and I think that's going to give me the best shot to win.
Well, step one accomplished. That's getting into the show. So now it's time to go get it. I appreciate the time. Congratulations on making the event, Donovan. Good luck here.
Thank you.
Donovan Strauss, one of the several drivers from the NASCAR Coca-Cola competing in tonight's race, and we are about ready to drop the green flag. So we'll step aside. Thanks for watching the ERA pre-race show presented by Equity Prime Mortgage. When we come back, we'll say let's go racing for $5,000 at Daytona International Speedway.
It means a lot to have this opportunity to race full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
We're reaching a community that needs to be transformed in terms of unlocking their mental potential with this opportunity with EPM.
The American gift is right here. It's embodied in this opportunity. It's embodied in all of us. It's not a dream, it's an opportunity. This is America, and everything is possible.
I'm just super happy and proud to be part of this whole team and this organization and everything we're going to do from here on out.
When you put that combination of talent, hard work, and opportunity together, it lends itself to be something great. And I look forward to seeing what it matures to.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody out there. Very grateful that we get to do this, we get to have fun, and more importantly, that we're all going to make a difference together. Thank you so much.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. We are happy to strap you along for the ride with us here tonight on Podium Esports for the iRacing Association's 2022 Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup Spring Bowl. We are just about set to go racing here tonight, Jesse, to get things underway.
And I'm super excited about what's going to happen on track. There's going to be so much just great racing overall here at Daytona. I'm looking forward to it. But before we kick it off, let us get to our national anthem being sung by Jared Ashley.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports and the command to start engines with Emmett Smith.
Hey everybody, it's your man Emmett Smith here. Welcome to EPM, or as we like to say, Empower People More, Omega Cup. Y'all ready to get this party started? All right, drivers, let's get ready. Drivers, start your engine.
Virtual cars are on track. Let's take a look at your ERAgaming.gg starting grid, and there is a lot of NASCAR talent up at the front of the field. Pole position belongs to Garrett Maines. He will start alongside Donovan Strauss, who we just spoke with, in the number 2 position, with Garrett Conrath, your defending race winner, in 3rd, and Logan Clampett in 4th. Matthew T. Lee and Cody Smith will double up on row number 2, Gary.
Yeah, we got Matt Busa rolling off on the inside of row 4. Christopher Tate in 9th place. We got Matthew Baker rolling off on the inside of row 5. Devin George rolling off on the outside of row 5. NASCAR Coca-Cola Series iRacing driver Casey Kerwin rolling off in row 6 alongside of Max Brady.
And the rest of the field will scroll through your screen. We can take a look at the starting grid for all 40 drivers. Remember, 53 of them attempted to qualify for this race. Only the top 40 made it in on speed. So already drivers being sent home. Those who remain going to go racing tonight for 60 laps at this virtual Daytona International Speedway. That means we'll go for 150 miles between the drop of the first Equity Prime Mortgage green flag of the night and the checkered flag a little bit later on. You heard it talking about Donovan Strauss, Jesse. It definitely isn't as long as what we saw in the Coke Series last week, but you're still going to need to survive a cycle of the green flag pit stops. You're still going to have to go a long way to get to the end in this race, so survival certainly going to be a key aspect of tonight's race here in Daytona.
Survival definitely is key, that's for sure. And we try to make these races not too long. We don't want these drivers to be out here thinking it's an endurance race. We want them to go out there and just get after it early. You want people to go out there and fight like a sprint race. And that's what the E-Racing Association is about. We're about seeing battles, seeing just good, hard racing out there, and making it 60 laps for the Super Speedway. I think it's like a nice, perfect fit for what we're trying to do with this as these folks go out there and compete for that $5,000 prize pool.
Some other important things to keep in mind, Gary. There is one fast repair available. If you're not familiar to sim racing, it's basically what all the real-world drivers would like, what Jesse would love to have on a normal race weekend. You tear up the race car, you get a brand new one, no questions asked. Now, you only get one of those. So if you get involved in several incidents tonight, that is going to be an issue. Also, everybody in the field is running a fixed setup as we take a live look in at some of the sim rigs at home of our competitors tonight. So there is no setup advantage, this guy to that guy. Every single Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota in the field are set up evenly.
Yeah, and that fast repair, you know, you kind of got to use that as another tool in your strategy. You're gonna accrue damage throughout this race. It's a matter of whether you want to use that fast repair to get it fixed early, if you get caught up early or not. But definitely another strategy piece that, you know, again, it's one of those things, the experienced sim racers, I think they know what to do with that when it's in their pocket.
And you can take a look in. There is lots of world championship level experience in the field here tonight. Will one of those NASCAR heavy hitters take the win tonight, or will somebody else snatch the bulk of the $5,000 purse? Pace car down and in. Garrett Maines on the throttle as we come to the Equity Prime Mortgage green flag and say, let's go racing in Daytona. First lap lead of the night on the inside goes to Donovan Strauss. The inside, Jesse got the jump early, but then we saw Garrett Conrath go from the bottom to the outside lane, and the 43 of Garrett Maines went with him. It allowed the 20 to lead at the stripe, but look at all the pushing the 9 and the 43 are doing up top. Now the outside, the place to be.
I'm loving this side-by-side racing. Everybody's in there pushing each other to the front, trying to see what lane's going to work, what line's going to work, who has power, who can take me up front. It's all about forming alliances throughout this race, but you're not going to have friends the entire race. You are battling to get up front. You want to win the race, but you do got to make friends early, and you got to make friends, at least decent friends, for a little bit. But when it comes down to those final laps, who knows what's going to happen? Some people are going to leave you out to dry. You're going to really see who really likes you and who doesn't. It's so much going on, but these folks are battling it out. They're about to go 3 wide. Somebody just got left to dry right there in the center.
Yeah, and you can already see
it's the 41 of Casey Kerwin going the wrong way in the middle there, but the 45 car of Julio Villalobos going to cut him a bit of a break, so Casey jumps up in line. You're on board with him now. He finds a home on the outside of the racetrack. So we stay 2 by 2. We're going to learn very quickly, Gary, in this race, you need friends. There is strength in numbers, and right now that outside continues to get more and more firepower. The 75 of Busovin up there, and now the outside leads by 5 cars off of turn 4.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you can already see the top line forming. That's going to be quick. Maines really knows how to lead the field, so a lot of the guys are going to follow him. If someone with more experience decides to go to the bottom and can get a bunch of people to trust in that line, it's really just going to be about numbers. The bottom line could get moving here, as you can see. Looks like Strauss is pushing. We got another guy jumping out of line. So here you go. Look for the inside line to catch up to the outside line now.
That's how the outside got their speed originally. It was a couple of cars joining the party. Strauss was leading on the bottom, but he was pushing Casey Kerwin, and now Casey Kerwin is up and pushing Logan Clampett. So the 97 and the 95, a little bit of tandem action, set and sail, and again, just as quickly as the outside became the place to be and got all the speed, that momentum swings back down to the inside, and it'll be a lap led for Logan Clampett on the bottom, roaring off into turn 1. Now the inside Inside's up by 5 car lengths, Jesse. 2 cars linking up in these next-gen cars on the surface. Very quick way around, throwing it back. It's been several years since we've been really a functional tandem in Cup Series cars as we go back on board with Garrett Conrath. Lone driver leading the outside. You can see how well the inside has done, and now they all want to jump to the outside.
There is strength in numbers, and we're seeing it right now.
Big check up here.
It just looks like wherever these Gen 7 cars go, if they go in numbers, all of a sudden that line just starts moving. It's just something a little bit different than what we saw in the Gen 6 cars. And I think we saw that also in the real life race in the Daytona 500. Whenever they had good numbers, it was just ridiculously strong. You just couldn't battle against it. You can't do this alone. Daytona is not a place where it's just, one person, you can just fight your way forward only, and you're just going to make it up there and just lead the race and do this and that. You need people, and you need a lot of them, not just one. You need a bunch of them. So if somebody does not go with you, you get left out to dry. And it's so crazy to see how clean they're running with how aggressive but somewhat smart they're being. I don't know how long this is going to last.
It's certainly some really gutsy stuff for early in this race. I mean, we spent the better part of the pre-race talking about how you do need to survive a little bit. You can see some smoke, so somebody's had an issue at some point back in the pack, but no issues towards the front of the field through the opening now 6 laps of this race, but not everybody in agreement. The lead pack now has kind of factioned off into 2 groups. Your lead pack is the top 16 drivers. You're on board, though, with Joseph Galata in 18th position. He is pushing Jeremy Little. These drivers, 17th and 18th in the racetrack right now, are almost 2.5 seconds behind that lead pack area. Sometimes these drivers are actually going to intentionally drop back like this. You can see how far off they are from the side-by-side lead pack up front. Many times in a plate track like this, drivers will drop to the back. They don't want to be in that dicey to race it early. They eliminate themselves from that position, and I wonder if the drivers back there aren't comfortable with all of the side-by-side up front that Ray Jones is looking at as you look on board with him in P12.
Yeah, I don't think their intentions were to go back there initially. There's a big checkup on the inside line and had a couple guys almost spin out. But now that they're back there, and after seeing that, I'm 100% sure they're content riding there for now. They got a good bit of guys lined up. As long as not too many of them are damaged. There was quite a few nose to rear bumper hits during that checkup, but they should be fine to kind of ride there. The double file up front may be a little bit faster as long as these guys don't get to side drafting each other. But with such short of a race, I think that they'll be able to stay close. And I think, yeah, definitely feeling pretty comfortable back there.
And look at that, pretty even now to the inside and the outside line, just like that, 8 laps down. I mean, if we get green flag racing in, Jesse, this race may not go that long on the stopwatch, which is, again, where these drivers have so much control. You can see if they want to slice to the outside, slice to the inside, they absolutely can make those moves. It just may not be recommended to do it that early on. So the discipline, and it all comes down to the drivers. They can race like it's the white flag for all 60 laps of this race, or they could take it easy. And with all of that pushing I'm seeing on the outside, these drivers are clearly here to race and to have fun. And we talked about that quick repair a little bit earlier. I can't help but wonder if that's given these drivers a little bit of added virtual courage. Not only are you not worried about tearing up your race car in terms of hurting your wallet or hurting yourself, but because it's virtual and you got another one on the trailer, they may be a little bit bolder than what you're typically used to seeing this early in a real race.
That is definitely for sure. I mean, they are being ridiculously aggressive, but it's cool because while doing it, these drivers just are so skilled on the sim that even though they're getting these pushes and sometimes getting these pushes in the corner, which is not advised at all, they're still able to control these vehicles. For those, folks who are at home right now watching this from their cell phone or watching it from their computer, people look at this and they say, this does look very much like real life, but it's just a video game. It's probably super easy to drive. If you ever jump on iRacing, you ever jump in the cockpit of a simulator and try to compete on here, it's difficult. It's not easy to drive these cars. Yes, it is Daytona, and yeah, there isn't a ton of, I would say, car control skill necessary or needed to drive at Daytona, at least by yourself. But when you get in a pack and you have all the different air, the turbulence that's going on between the cars with the draft, cars wanting to push, cars getting loose because maybe they're pushing you in the center of the corner or whatever it is, you really got to control these vehicles, and it's not easy at all. These drivers are really, really good at what they do, and that is why we've gone 11 laps now, basically about a sixth of this race without a wreck. And hopefully I'm not jinxing them, but man, this is really cool to watch them stay in this pack, stay together, make moves, move up and down. It's not boring at all. I'm getting so excited, and man, these cars are beautiful, aren't they, Evan?
They're good looking, they sound good, and most importantly, they race great. And look at this drive up through the middle. Max Brady is trying to make that middle lane work on his own. He had a little bit of speed when he first went there. Very quickly stalled out though, Gary. You touched on that early in this race, the fact that there's a really good bottom, there's a really good top, but not really in the center. You can make stuff work there in the middle of the racetrack if you got friends, but it's not going to work on its own. And Max Brady's going to get a big run here. Thought maybe he'd try it again, but seemingly he learned his lesson from last time. Is up front, Donovan Strauss will jump for the top side down to the bottom to block Logan Clampett, who was looking for the race lead, but he'll unwind that steering wheel off of 4, open the door back up, and Clampett now will surge back in front.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see this back group is starting to catch them. They're running them down pretty quick. We talk about the middle line. If there's ever a time that the middle line might work, is if this line of cars decides to just take their run to the middle. When you got one guy jumping out a line, he's probably not going to go anywhere. But if you get 2 or 3 guys to say, hey, we're going to the middle, and you get more to file in, that the middle may work. But I'm interested to see here what this back line does as they catch them. Looks like they're going to kind of just blend in here. A couple guys looking to the top. So yeah, there you go. That's the back group is caught up, and they've kind of stayed content to just kind of merge in there, not try and take their line through the middle. With such short of a race, I might have tried it. If I was leading that line.
Yeah, but Gary, you know what? So from experience, just in real life, and here on the sim, Daytona as much as it's a huge track, it's a 2.5 mile track. It's one of the largest tracks on the schedule. It's not a very wide track at all. It's not a Talladega where you can spread it 4 wide in the corner. You can't do that at Daytona. And as much as you can go 3 wide at Daytona, it doesn't last long. You really don't have that much room. If that group would have came through and decided to just make that 3rd lane right there in the middle and made it 3 wide, I don't think we would have seen much more clean racing. I think we would have seen a wreck happen within a couple laps. Something crazy would have happened. And I think that's why no one's really trying to start a middle lane right now. Some people are getting left out to dry in the middle a little bit, but no one's really trying to start that middle lane, because once you do and you have a good group of cars there, it's just not going to be that long before everyone's wrecking. It's really tough to really hold your line there, right there in the center, especially at Daytona. It's just not a very wide track at all.
There's $5,000 on the line.
It's true. I mean, when you compare it to Talladega, right? Talladega's got a lot more room than Daytona. We park these cars, we could probably fit, 4 wide, 5 wide when you park them. It's a whole different story when you're doing 195 miles an hour and they're kind of swaying side to side. And you can see Matthew Baker on board with him. Keeps looking, look at the eyes, looking up to the mirror, looking down at the dash, looking to the side mirror. I mean, his eyes were darting all over the place in the corner there, trying to figure out where those runs are coming from, what he can do with it. And the thing I've always thought about with the middle lane is I don't care if I can get the run up there. If I'm going to get stuck in the middle, I don't have many options, right? There's probably a car in front of me, to the left of me, behind me, to the right of me. You are just along for the ride in the pack, and it certainly puts you in a vulnerable position. And maybe that as well is why drivers are being a little bit patient, trying to get to the end of the race. Again, the other big thing is, Jesse, you always say to finish first, you first must finish. You can't even think about taking the checkered flag here tonight until you make a pit stop, right? You ain't got enough gas to go to the end of the race, so you can't win it right now. So maybe that's another factor that's encouraging some of these drivers to take it a little bit easier, is the fact that you need to, at minimum, get to a green flag cycle of pit stops before you can even start thinking about setting yourself up to go for the race win.
And yes, that is very true, which actually brings up a really good point. How many drivers do y'all really think actually practice green flag stops? It is very difficult, especially here at Daytona, to do one. You are coming off these corners. You're going into the corners 190-something, 200 miles per hour. Then all of a sudden, you're having to come down to about 55 or 60 miles per hour in those pits. And it's not like you can just start slowing down, going into turn 3, and all of a sudden, give yourself some time. You are max full speed, pedal to the metal, all the way to coming off of turn 4 and then having to get on those brakes hard without locking them up and spinning out and wrecking or sending yourself into the grass and then making that stop. So the folks who have actually gotten practice with that are going to be the ones who have the most success and going to be the ones who can shave off the most time from those green flag stops if we do get to that point. We are getting pretty aggressive with this run now that the rest of the pack is caught up. But Gary, I don't know, what's your thoughts on that? What have you seen in some of these races where these Gen 7 cars have had to make green flag stops?
Yeah, it's a valid point. The brake system that is implemented on this car is a lot different than what a lot of these guys would be used to with the Gen 6. And stopping the car without warming up your brakes first is actually pretty hard. If you are getting ready to pit, what you want to do is you really want to try and just work the brake pedal a little bit, get some heat in the brakes going down the backstretch, and you'll have a lot better chance of taking advantage of these larger disc brakes, and you can probably outbrake your opponents a lot later. I find that practicing pit stops is very, very important on a plate track, because like you said, this is a plate track. These guys are wide open, outside of positioning yourself on the track and trying to make the right passes. You can really pass a lot of cars if you're somewhere back in 12th, 13th, 14th, and try to get yourself up into the top 5 just by outbraking people on pit road. So yeah, you'll see anyone who practice making pit stops is definitely going to have an advantage when they hop the pit road.
A lot of contact right there on the inside as they came off of 4. And, you know, I talked about the tandem a little bit earlier. You can get away with pushing. It's always a little bit dicey if you're on someone's bumper and physically making contact into the corner, off of the corner, especially in that tri-oval as well. But, I mean, it has not deterred many of these drivers in this race. You see the outside coordinated it very well that time. Kerwin backed off of the back of Clampett. He stayed off him in the corner, and the second they were coming down the banking off of 2, hooked back up. Look at the outside now. They gave each other a little bit of space. That's partially as well to get some air to the nose of the 41 car of Kerwin. That's why I think he's looking all over the place, trying to keep that engine cooled down off the corner, back together. And so on the inside, Matthew Lee almost got sped out of line, and now 3 wide behind them as the 36 of Aaron Ramon drops to the back after trying to make the 3rd lane work.
Yeah, something that's really different with these cars to the Gen 6 too is the rack and pinion steering. If you start to get this car a little bit loose and you find yourself having to fight the wheel back and forth, it becomes progressively harder and harder and harder to save. There are ways to get the car saved, but if you see guys wobbling off the corner, if I'm near them or I'm behind them and I'm pushing them, you're gonna want to get off of them because it's gonna make it that much harder for them to catch the car. You saw it happen yesterday in real life too when Brad turned Harrison Burton. You have to be mindful of how you're pushing guys. As you see that push through the tri-oval there, that's a decent spot to do it. As he backs off in the corner, that's a smart thing to do there. But yeah, with that rack and pinion steering, it's really hard to save the car once it starts going back and forth and you start stalling on the wheel. So it's real important that these guys be mindful of who they're pushing and what their car looks like as they are pushing it, because the moment that the back end starts dancing around too much, you may be in for some trouble.
And what was once the spread out lead pack is now 27 cars strong. Last time by is separated by just 1.4 seconds. We'll take an opportunity to step aside, but we'll keep things side by side so you don't miss a moment of the action. You're watching the Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup SpringBowl from Daytona.
Do you struggle finding someone to race with, someone to compete with, or flat out someone just to give the Gap sauce? Well, you should check out the Gapum app.
Gapum is the only app that will allow you to race people locally, share videos, and attend events.
And after you race, you can actually take your racing video and post it in the Gapum postum section so the whole world can see. A racer, you can always head to our Gapum app crew mode section where you and some friends can continue to meet up, go to car meets, go to car events, car shows, anything that has nothing to do with going to the racetrack.
Gapum is a one-stop shop for the car world.
Looks like I just got a match on the Gapum app. Time to serve someone some Gapple beans.
Ready, set, Gapum.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. The temperature continues to rise. We are almost halfway home in this Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup Spring Bowl for the virtual World Center of Racing, working lap number 26 of 60 now. And as we were away there, you saw a little bit of three-wide racing. It was the 20 car who was the big loser, Jesse. Donovan Strauss, who started on the front row, fell like a rock on the outside. Logan Clampett went underneath him to make a middle lane, and Donovan Strauss now finds himself outside of the top 10.
That can definitely happen here at Daytona. It doesn't matter where you're running. You can start first, you can start second, you can start 20th. You can easily get shuffled around here at this track. It just depends on what each lane is doing. And I love the look of Matthew Hughes right here. He has a straight up NASCAR look. It doesn't get any more NASCAR than this right here. He is just hardcore focused. He has the shades on. He has an 88 right behind him. I mean, this guy is ready to go. I love this. This is what, and he's breathing hard too. It's stressful.
It's almost like if Mike Harmon was sim racing. That's what it reminds me of.
Well, I always joke at the start of the race, you know, we're happy to have you strapped into the virtual seat. Matthew takes it literally. He's got the belts on. I mean, I think the biggest thing is he's got the Dale Jr. flag, which is the mandatory for the NASCAR setup, and he's just vibing, having a good time, got the headset on, and right on the bottom, trying to win $4,000 at a race win here at Daytona tonight. I will say, I think important that he's on the bottom, Jesse, because pit stops should be pretty soon. I mean, you could pit at the halfway point. That might make the most sense for these drivers, but you can go about 38 to 42 laps on fuel, so they could pit at any point now and get to the end of this race. If you're on the outside, you can't really get to pit road. I mean, as a driver, you know this, you kind of have to work yourself down to the bottom at the right time to have even a good look at getting onto pit lane. And then once you get down there, then the actual challenge of slowing it down cleanly, not speeding, not getting into an incident is a whole different question. But the guys up top right now couldn't even pit if they wanted to.
That's true. You know, with the green flag stops coming up here soon, you really got to figure out a way to strategize and work your way down to the bottom. But the thing is, no one's going to make room for you. It's not like a normal street or highway where you can put your blinker on and someone will move over or slow down and let you in. They're not going to do that at all. So if you're up top right now and you need to make that stop, you're trying to have a particular strategy that works for you and your team and your people, and you need to maybe make that stop at lap 30, 31, and no one's letting you down, that could screw up your strategy right there. You're going to need somebody who can think through how is that going to affect your plan for this race and what you want it to do. There's a lot of stuff going on in these drivers' mind, but it's going to be very difficult to get down to the bottom unless you just shove someone out of the way. Now, you could do that and maybe get some damage, or maybe you do it and you get lucky and you don't really have any damage. I don't know, but it's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers.
Here we go.
Now, oh, yep, look what happened. Exactly what I said. He shoved them down there. They end up in the wall.
And a caution right as those drivers were hitting pit road. I'm curious if they all were able to get into the pit lane before the yellow, or if some of them may be penalized for entering a closed pit. Your race leader, Garrett Maines, though, was on pit road. So as the yellow flag flies, pit stops are happening for fuel and tires. But here's the transition. Conrath into the outside wall, and right there, the hip check that sends two drivers into the safer barrier.
Yeah, it looks like it was started by the 35, the Pepsi car. Kind of got into the back of the car in front of him there, and kind of what caused him to go down the track and hip check him. I don't know if he was trying to pit and he slowed up a little bit, but yeah, either way, that's not how you want to start a pit cycle.
And I wonder if, yeah, he got definitely tagged to 27, went down there, collected the additional driver. And again, look at all these cars who were coming onto the pit lane. Shouldn't have been surprising that that's when it was happening. It was basically right on the money at halfway. But now this is really interesting, Jesse. A lot of drivers will kind of base their pit strategy on, you know, hey, if we pit now and catch a yellow, we're going to be in a good position if we can stay on the lead lap. Assuming that some of those drivers who pitted there when the yellow came out will be allowed to keep their position, all these cars who are pitting now are going to get passed by those cars who have already gotten service. So we could see a very different running order when we go back green as Logan Clampett brings the rest of the field down for service under yellow.
timing. Some of these drivers up front may have known that something like this was going to happen. They were thinking, you know what, we're still 2x2. We're not in just one lane, just riding around the top or the bottom. We're 2x2. So when people start going down a lap 30, 31, there could potentially be some wrecks. And some people game plan for that, and it might have worked out for some folks. And the running order is definitely going to be a lot different now, which will basically cause a lot different driving your plan for what you want to do, who you're around. Some of these people who are up front are used to having certain folks up front, and maybe they have people up front who are not used to being up front. A lot of different plans are going to change. Strategy is going to change. It's about to get interesting here once we take the green flag again.
Yeah, and if I was caught on the back end of that strategy now, and I'm kind of around 20th on back, I'm looking at coming in here and topping off just in case there's some green-white checkers. I know we're kind of right there halfway through the race. You get pushing 3 green-white checkers, you might be close on fuel. I think if you're in the front of the field, your bet's kind of made at this point. You're not going to pit unless you have to. But yeah, if you're 20th on back and you kind of got caught on the back end of that crash on the pit cycle, I'm coming in here with 1 to go and topping off. So I'd look for some guys to be doing that.
You can see Matthew Lee is in second position. So Logan Clampett, who brought the field down under yellow, was the first car off of pit road with that group of race cars as well. So that means that Garrett Maines, Matthew Lee, Max Brady, and Braden Black were all able to get onto pit road before the yellow came out, and it will keep their track position. Remember, there were way more than just 4 cars who hit pit road when the yellow came out, but for those drivers who did not get onto pit road before the yellow came out, they would be given a penalty for entering a closed pit. So just those 4 take advantage, and therefore Garrett Maines, even though he started on pole, it's not like he was in the 20s and is making a big swing, Jesse, but right timing gets Garrett Maines right back onto the front row and with enough fuel to get to the end of this race, as we'll come to take a green flag that'll leave us with 28 laps to go.
Strategy has changed, plans have changed. Whatever plan you had coming into Daytona, here to the EPM Omega Cup Series SpringBowl, whatever that plan was, is thrown out the door now. Everything's changed. They got about 30 laps to go, halfway through. It's going to be interesting to see what they have to do to pivot. Drivers and teams who do the best are the ones who understand how to pivot. The plan's just not always going to stay the same. Things happen. You get damaged, you get wrecked, cautions come out and during times you would have never thought they were going to come out. All these different things happen, but you know what? The ones with the ability to pivot from the original plan and do it well, those are the ones who are going to have the most success. So I'm interested to see how this now plays out with this running order as shuffled as it is now.
Drivers going to be able to go to the end of this race on fuel. Of course, it may not necessarily be just 28 laps to go in this race. And in fact, the lights go back on top of the pace car at the last moment. So we're going to go all the way back around and come green the next time through. You can kind of see some confusion towards the back of the pack as far as who goes into what spot. And Guillaume Hesno actually going to dive down to the pit lane to top off. Gary, to your point, where these drivers might want a little bit extra fuel because of those 3 attempts at a green and white checker to finish if necessary. And I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but if we pulled the numbers, it's got to be, at least 50% of races that happen here at Daytona, especially on the iRacing service, go to overtime?
I think you're being a little generous there. I'd probably put it more in the 70-80%. I haven't been a part of many races at Daytona in the past few years that haven't seen a green-white checker, at least one. So, yeah, like I said, if I'm 20th on back, I am definitely getting gas. I got gas when I thought we were coming to 1 to go, and I'm getting gas again right now just to be safe. You just never know what's going to happen. It doesn't hurt to have a little gas in there, a little more weight in the back end, get the spoiler down a little bit lower, and maybe you'll be a little bit faster too.
Looks like a lot of drivers as well who got wave rounds and whatnot going to be single file towards the back of the pack. So we'll have a couple of stragglers. Remember, it was really only a 2-car incident So the concern of quick repairs running out is not an issue en masse for this field. Really, only 2 drivers had to get damage repaired. Everybody else still has an extra cut car in their virtual trailer down onto the pit lane, and they can use that if necessary. So there is a long way to go to the end of this race here tonight from Daytona. The pace car, though, will head down to the safety of pit road this time. Garrett Baines and Matthew Lee side by side on the front row to the Equity Prime Mortgage green flag. We're back underway.
You already got guys fighting for whatever line they're trying to get in to get the run down the backstretch here. Looks like Garrett Conrath is going to get a big push here.
It's interesting to see these 3 up front who are somewhat breaking away, but they're not going to be able to break away for long. I've had it before on the iRacing service where I've jumped on, and even in the final laps of the race, I think we had like 2 laps, and it might have been a green. Oh, and we have another caution coming up. Let's see what happened.
That's a big one. Oh, they're still piling in.
Still piling up, hitting each other. Archer brakes.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to stop these cars, and yeah, you hate to see that.
It was old Kyle Vallejos who got hooked first, and you're going to look for the 35 Pepsi machine. There it is. A look to the inside, and I mean, that's just, we talk about patience, and Matt Busa just got way too impatient there with Vallejos in front. The field had kind of splintered off into 2 packs. The 35 was leading the second lane on the outside of the racetrack, and it was just a little bit slower than Busa there. And Busa, for whatever reason, opted to try to make a 3rd lane work instead of just helping the 35. Hooked him in the left rear quarter panel and absolutely cleaned him out. Vallejos ended up on his lid, and at least a dozen race cars crashed into it. Here's the onboard perspective from Cesar a little bit further behind as all of this happens going into turn 3.
I feel bad for him. That number 35 car, oh my goodness. I mean, he got flipped and everything. Hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he got out. Hopefully we get, some word from the infield care center that he's all right and he's going to, I don't know. I just hate to see it for drivers like that.
Oh, I mean, he almost right there got through all of that Mascarian. At the last second, he just ran out of options, T-boned a driver in front of him, and piled into the incident. Here's the outside look. The 5 car looking for avoidance. Got hit from the right side, but got tagged at it. I was about to say maybe the solution is to just come to a stop completely, but even he's
chaotic trying to get through those wrecks. You're doing everything you can. Even if you're doing everything you can to slow down, you're looking in your mirror too, because you don't know what the person behind you can see, who's going to come sliding off the banking from the top, who's in the grass out of control going to slide into your inside. A lot of time all you can really do is just look out the windshield and pick a hole and try to get through it and hope for the best. That's kind of one of the worst feelings, though, when you think you've got it cleared and the next thing you know, wham, you're facing the other direction.
And as the age-old saying goes, cautions breed cautions. A small incident at the halfway point slowed us down, but a big one now has sent several drivers down to the pit lane for repairs. We'll take one last opportunity to step aside. When we come back, we'll take a restart with more than 20 laps to go at Daytona with $5,000 on the line. You're watching this special presentation of the iRacing Association on Podium Esports.
It means a lot to have this opportunity to race full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
We're reaching a community that needs to be transformed in terms of unlocking their mental potential with this opportunity with EPM.
The American gift is right here. It's embodied in this opportunity. It's embodied in all of us. It's not a dream. It's an opportunity. This is America, and everything is possible.
I'm just super happy and proud to be part of this whole team and this organization and everything we're going to do from here on out.
When you put that combination of talent, hard work, and opportunity together, it lends itself to be something great. And I look forward to seeing what it matures to.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody out there. Very grateful that we get to do this, we get to have fun, and more importantly, that we're all going to make a difference together. Thank you so much.
And back live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway with a restart coming up in this Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup Spring Bowl. Myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside Jesse Wucci and Gary Sexton upstairs in the booth. And Jesse, continuing on with these ERA special events for drivers who want to get involved. Go to eragaming.gg. How else can they get involved with this series?
Yeah, go into eragaming.gg is the best way, so then go and sign up to become a member. Obviously, you got to have the iRacing service, so make sure you're signed up as an iRacing member. But yeah, drivers have the opportunity to come compete for prize money and give themselves an opportunity to get real, track time on the sim, get better and better and better. We got the green flag dropping right now. They are side by side racing, and it's just really cool to see these folks going out here and competing so hard. In a way, got my start in iRacing before I even jumped into a real-life car. I trained on iRacing for months before I decided to jump into a late model. This was after being on a warship in the Middle East, serving in the United States Navy. Jumped onto iRacing right after that, learned how to drive a race car on there, and then from there jumped into a late model and started racing late models. From there, moved up to the NASCAR K&N Series and the ARCA Series, Truck Series, now Xfinity Series, and I just got the opportunity, the blessed opportunity, to go race at Daytona International Speedway this past weekend in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with EPM on board our number 34 Chevrolet Camaro. We had an absolutely amazing time being able to qualify into the race. 47 cars there, 38 spots. We made it in, and then we were able to go out there, run. We had some opportunities to do really well towards the end, but we got caught up a little bit in the wreck. Even though I avoided it for the most part, we still got caught up a little bit, and then we lost a couple laps in the pits. But man, it was a great blessing just being able to race and having Emmett Smith on board with our team as one of our owners with Jesse and Wucci Motorsports. It's been absolutely amazing to have it happen. But it's cool to see these drivers out here competing, because this is where I started. I started here in iRacing to learn how to drive a race car. Any one of these drivers can do the same thing I did. They can follow the same path and work their way from virtual to reality. So this is a cool opportunity to have them broadcast. And here we got a wreck going on.
And Garrett Conrath is in it again, and more now. Up and over is that Bowden on his lid. They are still wrecking all the way through the tri-oval after all of this started basically in the center of turn number 4. What happened to make this one about 2,000 feet long a wrecking distance? You can see these drivers are behind the initial incident. They're wrecking up the field. We talked about that secondary pack wanting to get out of the way, and right there, Bowden just nowhere to go, gets taken out. He's up on his lid, and everyone's aggressive, Gary, off of a restart. They're pushing, they're tucked up on each other's bumpers, and the only thing they can think of is some of the drivers back there didn't see this happen originally. This is the original incident up towards the front. Conrath goes to the outside. They check up top. The 9 car gets hooked right there off of 4, and that's how it all initially started.
Yeah, that is an interesting spot on the track. It's kind of blind coming out of 4 to the front stretch. I had my eye on the yellow flag when that happened, and it came out pretty quick, so I'm not quite sure how or why they came in there that hard, but it happens. Like I said, these cars are really hard to stop if you haven't been on the brakes at all. They won't slow down as quickly as you think they will, so they may have been doing everything they could to avoid that, and just the combination of being kind of a blind drop out of the corner onto the front stretch there, and just miss if you don't have the yellow flag in the sim somewhere where you can hear it or where you can see it pop up, things like that can happen.
But Gary, here's the thing though, as far as like the brake situation, right? For these drivers, they really shouldn't have any excuse for not being able to get the brakes to work because they haven't used it. When you're plate racing, when you're at a track like Daytona or Talladega, how you stay off the other cars when you're getting sucked up behind them because of the draft, how you stay off them is you drag the brake. And I know some of these drivers obviously haven't raced in real life, so maybe some of them don't even know. But you're supposed to drag that brake. You're not just supposed to lift off the gas so you don't hit them. You're supposed to actually stay in the gas the entire time and drag the brake while still being in the gas to keep yourself off the other car. So really, you should always have heat in those brakes. The only time you won't have heat in the brakes is if you're on your qualifying run, you haven't touched your brake at all from the moment you leave the pits to the moment you're about to come back in the pits. That would be really the only time you shouldn't have any heat in the brakes. But during a race, when you're drafting, when you're getting sucked up behind these folks, you're going to need to drag your brakes, so they should have some type of heat in those brakes.
Yeah, you would think so. I know a lot of guys on here will lift in the pack. Now that you have the tapered spacers in the engine and not as much the restrictor plate, I think that keeping your momentum up isn't as important. So a lot of guys will actually just come right off the throttle from what I've seen and not use the brakes as much. I don't know that wreck was a brake thing or not. I just think it was a combination of a few different things, and you got guys pushing you and trying to get in there. But I definitely agree with you. When I drive plate tracks, I love to drag the brake, keep my foot in the throttle. That way, if I need to make a move, I'm already in the gas, and all I have to do is pick up my left foot, and we're going. So you just never know.
Modulate it. Yeah, you can definitely modulate it a lot better when you left foot brake and you drag that brake. When you're lifting off the gas and going back in, that's a lot of play, a lot of time, and that motor has to wind back up. I mean, these motors are naturally aspirated motors. They're not supercharged, they're not turbo. There's no extra boost to just really get them just kicked back up. And the gearing on these tracks, I mean, it's really, really tall gears. So you just don't have a lot of oomph, I guess, to get it back once you lift. So really dragging the brake is the way to go. I mean, that's just my humble opinion.
Well, I think you're the expert here for sure. So I'm definitely not going to lift anymore after hearing that. I mean,
I'm glad I motivated you.
300 miles door to door on Saturday night. I mean, I'm definitely going to take that your advice for sure. I do have to ask, what is that like? I know what it's like here on the sim, and it's stressful for us, but I can't imagine doing that in real life. With the G-forces and the speed and the sound and the heat and the cars everywhere. I mean, hats off to you.
It is. It's definitely interesting once you get to real life and you're doing it there, because everything truly is on the line. From your car, a lot of money, potentially your life. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, Daytona is no joke. I mean, for all those who are watching it, from the comfort of their home, it looks all simple and it looks all easy. But when you're out there, I mean, you're competing. It's real life stuff. Things can happen. Wrecks happen. People flip. People get hurt. I mean, it's racing. It's motorsports. It's dangerous. So all that stuff's on your mind, but you're still trying to compete. You're trying to stay in the draft. Just like these drivers here, they're trying to do everything they can so they can make their way up front, because at the end of the day, we all have one goal, and that goal is to do well. And by doing well, we all want to win, and we will do whatever it takes to win, whatever that price is, whatever price you have to pay. That's what you have to do to get up front, and that's what these drivers are going to fight to do. With 18 laps to go, $5,000 on the line with the Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup SpringBowl right now, 2022. We're kicking this thing off, and it is about to get spicy and saucy. We're about to see what happens. These drivers are not going to let up one bit.
One of the questions we mentioned earlier was patience, right? Could you be patient to get late in this race? I think it's late enough. Inside of 20 to go, I'm not sure anybody is really going to buy into the notion of taking it easy, saving, biding your time, and getting to the end, because this is the home stretch with Matthew Lee, who's right in the thick of things as well, up towards the front of the field. Some old school action there for Matthew Lee on the inside line of the racetrack, but he's going to get passed up. Logan Clampage trying to pass him on the outside line of the racetrack. Oh, and a spin behind. More cars wrecking. And another yellow flag. I think it was the 86 who got turned out of line first, and that is Joseph Galata.
Wow. He got 86th. That is interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's getting aggressive now. I mean, they were all clean for the first half of the race, and now the patience is running thin. People are no longer being friendly. They're trying to find their way up. He tried to squeeze in there. Let's just see what happened right here.
Dropping it back, trying to find a home, and I wonder if he spooked the car behind him almost, right? I mean, you can clearly see he lost the momentum. He was dropping back in line, and he tried to squeeze up top. He just cut off the 31 machine. That was Mike Davenport up top, and you can see Davenport trying to avoid that kind of turns down. Problem was, Davenport was already 3 wide with the 20 car coming up the middle line of Donovan Strauss. It just did not work. Drivers being aggressive, trying to slide in line, not willing to give an inch, and that's what happens when there's no give.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where it really pays to have a live spotter. One of the things you can do with the sim that mimics reality is you can have another person sign in and spot for you. Situations like that is where that is really important, especially in these big events, to try and have somebody to see what's going on, where the runs are coming from, whether someone's to your inside. I mean, if you're racing on a single screen, you don't have a whole lot of peripheral, so you're kind of just going off of the sound in your headphones of where cars are and your virtual mirror, depending what you have going on there. So having a virtual spotter is another huge advantage on these super speedway races, so that you can avoid incidents like that.
Well, I know that you guys were talking, Jesse, about your experience, racing through the NASCAR ranks here at Daytona, and there's certainly a large segment still of the racing community who doesn't have that sim time, and there's a ton of sim racers who have plenty of time on iRacing but no time in a real world car. You've obviously had the opportunity to do both. Where do you draw those similarities? What is it like, racing a NASCAR Xfinity Series car, or even in this case, an NextGen car at a racetrack like Daytona compared to doing it in the real world? Obviously, when you're doing it in the sim, you're a lot more comfortable. You're not as hot. You're not at risk of, damaging the race car and blowing your budget or getting hurt in the car. So there's certainly more comfort in the sim. But when it comes to the physics, working with the air, working in a pack, how do you draw those similarities?
It's actually very similar. iRacing does a really good job of making it as realistic as possible, especially at a place like Daytona. iRacing's really got the physics down as far as the drafting. I use iRacing to train for every single race I go to. Training in real life, I would say jumping into a real life stock car and going to a big track and trying to train. Obviously, NASCAR doesn't let us test once you're a rookie and you have a few tests that you can do, but besides that, they don't really let us test. So going and finding some place and somewhat try to mimic it and test, it just gets really expensive to do it in real life. So a lot of drivers now are using the sim to train. I would say 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago or so, a lot of drivers didn't completely trust the sim. They thought, it's just a video game, doesn't really work. But nowadays, just about every driver, it's almost pretty much mandatory now, and every driver has a sim at home so they can train. And sim setups can be super basic, or they can get really, really, really intricate. I mean, you got sim cockpits and gaming computers and motion sims and all that stuff coming together, costing $10,000, $20,000. But you don't have to spend that. You can get a decent setup like right here, Alex's setup right here. I'm sure this probably doesn't cost more than between the computer and the cockpit and the steering wheel and all that stuff. You probably spent maybe a couple grand or so. You can go even cheaper than that. It just depends on what your budget is, but it's something that anyone can jump into, save a little bit of money, buy it. Obviously, it's not as inexpensive as just buying like a PlayStation 5 or something like that and using a controller. Obviously, that's probably the cheapest way to go. But, for jumping on iRacing and using your PC, there's a lot of ways to get into it for not that much. Just save a few bucks, make it happen, and you can get like really, really good experience on the sim.
Talk about, comparing the two. I think that is Alex Thurber's heart rate up on his screen as well, probably has a heart rate monitor. So I think it'll be interesting to see. He's in this lead pack. We're doubled up. Lights are on top of the pace car. If we check back in with him once we go back green flag racing, I'm curious to see if that spikes, especially if he is in contention for the race win. I've also spoke with several drivers who compete in the NASCAR ranks that say when they sim race, their heart rate actually gets a little bit higher than it does on average when they're actually behind the wheel of their normal ride on a weekend. The pace car off and in, though. Let's see what this one gives us as we come to the Equity Prime Mortgage green flag to restart this race. 13 laps to go, and it's Matthew Lee leading on the inside.
Not for long.
That
And a
second
caution.
lane. Oh
Yeah,
my
behind your
gosh.
leaders. I mean, your leaders fire off. You can see that they don't really agree on which lane we're going to work with, and that outside just really hit a wall there. And I have to think something happened to the 31 of Mike Davenport. We checked in with him a little bit earlier. The only thing I can think of is that Jesse, he may have money shifted it or shifted it into the wrong gear because he was getting up through the gears fine. And again, one thing we haven't talked about with these next-gen cars is there's 5 gears instead of 4. It's a sequential shifter, but some drivers on the service here may actually be using an H pattern, or maybe he just did something, but that thing definitely did not shift correctly, and the 31 was just incredibly slow, and it stacked everybody up behind him and eventually led to that incident. So it all started with the 31 on the outside. Watch this. I mean, he just loses a ton of speed there out of nowhere.
Yep. It's all something that's possible. Yeah. So with these next-gen cars, with the Gen 7, they're sequentially shifted. So for the viewers at home who don't understand what sequential shift is, prior to the Gen 7 car, the Gen 6 and every other car before that was an H pattern, where first gear was up to the top left, second bottom left, third top right, fourth bottom right. Well, now they go to sequential, where it's just straight up and down. So to shift up, you pull it back, and to shift down, you push forward. Now, some of these drivers, some of these sim racers have shifters where you can select a certain button and it automatically turns your shifter into a sequential, or you press the switch another way and it goes into an H pattern. In my sim here at home, mine can basically switch back and forth, but some of them don't. Some of them have to use a paddle shift to do the sequential, where you shift up by using the right and you shift down by using the left. Every once in a while, your sim equipment doesn't want to respond to exactly what you did. You might be trying to shift up and it never does. And now if you basically don't get the shift to go through, you're sitting on the limiter on your tachometer. So you go all the way up to 9,000, 9,500, 10,000 RPM, whatever it is on these things. And you're sitting on a limiter. You're not going anywhere. You're trying to shift. It's not doing anything. And everyone else, it has full steam ahead right behind you. And then guess what? You get ran.
And we talk about those preferences. Obviously, when you watch a NASCAR Cup race on the weekend, Gary, you don't get a choice of paddles or sequential or H pattern, right? All the next-gen cars are going to be on those sequential shifters on the service. As Jesse was just mentioning, you can kind of set up your rig as much as you want. That applies to beyond just the computer and your monitors, but actual hardware as well, right? I mean, you could run any kind of shifting setup you want. You can run so many different kinds of wheels. We see drivers, obviously, you'll typically see, I think, all the onboards we've seen tonight have that stock car-esque large circular wheel, but some drivers will actually use kind of an open wheel or a formula rim to race, even if it is on an oval. Don't recommend it, but some drivers prefer it. They can also do that if you're racing a NASCAR stock car at a road course. Change the wheel out that you're running at home. Run an open wheel, an IndyCar style wheel, and that helps. So there really is no limit to the customization that you can play with here on the service when you get involved in sim racing.
Yeah, there really isn't. And there are advantages and disadvantages to using, whatever wheel, whatever combination. I think mostly it boils down to comfort and what allows you to make the fastest lap times. Somewhere here like Daytona, I definitely wouldn't jump to a butterfly rim or a formula rim just because of the movements that you need to make need to be a lot smoother. And I find that, the Dale Jr. hold, just kind of getting your hand up on top of the wheel and being as smooth as possible through the corners, so you're not making erratic, unpredictable moves. That really goes a long way. But again, there are guys that, out of comfort, run a certain wheel and stick with that. Doesn't matter what it is, where they go, how they do it. And that's what they're going to run. I personally like to mix it up. It's all about immersion for me. I'm not fast at all, so I try to make it as fun and as immersive as possible. So whatever the car I'm in, that's what kind of wheel I tend to go with.
I definitely try to make it as realistic as possible on the sim. A lot of people will start doing some funky stuff on the sim, which isn't as realistic as it should be. So, for example, when you're running 1.5 mile tracks, there's a lot of people in real life who run a 10-to-1 steering box. I hear all these people on the sim saying, oh, don't run a 10-to-1, run a 12 or 14 or 16-to-1. I'm like, are you crazy? We don't do that in real life. Oh, actually, there's some people who in real life still probably run a 14-to-1 on a 1.5 mile track, but a lot of people run a 10-to-1 because that's what it is. And yes, it is real quick, and yes, you could easily oversteer, counter, all this stuff that you can do to mess up, but I mean, that's real life. Real drivers can control the vehicles with a 10-to-1. So I feel like everyone on the sim should do what we do in real life. Use the steering boxes that we use. Learn how to drive like that. Don't try to game the system. Do what we do in real life and see how good you are.
Yeah, there's so many different ways you can do it, right? I think that the VR goggles as well is a super cool experience, but when you're talking about some of these NASCAR drivers, they're typically going to prefer a triple monitor setup. I know a lot of the pros as well try to get all that force feedback out of the wheel, which gives you the most realistic experience, because when you get to that level of sim racing, it's all about trimming things out for lap times, right? So there's so many different ways that you could handle things here on the service, but no matter how you're set up, you got a chance for $5,000 right here, right now. Green flag back in the air with just 9 laps to go from Daytona. Can they make it? The lead pack has dwindled down. You see the pack much smaller than it once was as we race off into 1 and 2. The advantage right now on the outside for Garrett Maines in the yellow and black Chevy.
Yeah, look for these pushes to get more and more and more aggressive as we go. Just like real life, these guys are going to be real hesitant to leave the back bumper if they're behind somebody. And these guys up front, speaking of dragging brakes, are probably dragging their brakes a little bit to keep that guy connected to their car. You don't want to get too far out in front of the pack because they're going to come back and just swallow you up as fast as they possibly can. So yeah, look for these pushes to get more aggressive, and with that, the cars will become a little bit harder to drive if you're the one getting pushed.
I've had that happen to me actually on the sim where I was up front in the pack and I thought it'd be a bright idea on a restart just to take off and leave everyone behind me, thinking that on the green white checker that I'd be able to get around and then win the race, and it was just the worst idea ever. After you get through a corner, the whole entire pack has a full head of steam. They're going forward, they're moving fast, and they come up to you and they just run you over. And look at that heart rate now, 127, whereas before it was 110.
So it's spiked already more than 15 beats per minute just from going green flag racing. And if Thornburg gets more into the conversation for the race lead, I imagine it'll go even further up front, though. We are door slamming in a battle inside of the top 5 right now. The advantage low for Max Brady. Brady pushed by Maines. They've got the 04 Matthew Lee behind them. The outside line led by Logan Clampett. He's pushed by Casey Kerwin with Reed Christensen in tow, not that far back. So plenty of NASCAR talent on the front row, and the outside going to use that run off for 2 and down the super stretch to pull a bit of an advantage. You can see damaged cars falling off the back. The lead pack right now, 23 cars strong.
Yeah, don't look now. Donnie Strauss is making his way up through the field. I just watched him pass about 6 or 7 cars through the middle with a huge push. He's up in the outside lane right now. I don't know that he has a lot of places to go, but I mean, we're talking about Donnie Strauss here. He's going to find his way back to the front.
You can see the focus. I mean, not much looking around, no chatter on the radio, just very calm from Donovan Strauss. But look at all the movement up front. That's certainly making me worried because nobody can decide to work with each other right now. Everybody changing lanes, leaving drafting partners at every single opportunity. And now a third lane joins the scene, led by Ben Horst on the inside. The 7-3 with him up front. The 17 of Edwards.
They're getting wild.
Going to the middle. He'll stay to the outside. It is still a lead for Logan Clampett up front, but how long can they make it with 5 laps to go?
They're battling. They're getting side by side. They're pushing each other around, and they're wrecking. We have somebody on their lid. Oh my goodness, they were fighting it out. And we're going to have only a few laps left to go for this race when we go back green.
Well, I said, how long can they make it? The answer was not very, as we saw right after they got through the triumphal contact into the outside wall, and it all stemmed from the 49, which Ben Horst, who I mentioned, was leading the charge up the middle. He got blocked by the 04 and just came down a little bit right there, tags the 53, comes back up, and it's the 77 who he sends airborne, Alex Thornburg, who we were checking in with the heart rate a little bit earlier. He was the one who went back in first into the catch fence off and into one and tore up his car, and it's calmed down now. I think that's the realization that he's torn up a little bit, but I kind of want to know what that thing spiked to when he got up and into the air. He was almost clear of the incident, but just got tagged. Let's watch it from his perspective.
Yeah, he's just kind of in the middle here. This is not a fun place to be this late in the race. Nowhere to go. Kind of hope for that your line's going to move and that you can get cleared and make some space. And, oh yeah, I just didn't even see that coming. Oh, that's the worst.
Rate jumped up. Just watching from there, my heart rate jumped up. Wow. Yeah, that's
one of those moments, Jesse, where you're happy it's a virtual car and you're not paying that one out of your pocket.
Oh yeah, no, that's for sure. Man, I mean, at least you got the reset button, but unfortunately in this race, you only have one reset with your car. You can go in the pits and do a quick reset. I'm not sure if he still had one or not, but that's the tough thing. I mean, they were all fighting that. Once you get 3 wide like that, and you have a few laps left to go, it's just you just know what's coming. You're just like, how long? It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of.
Yeah, I always find myself in that position if I'm, there's 3 or 4 laps left and I'm 11th or so, just kind of stuck on the outside. I'm always asking myself, man, maybe I should just back out of it here and just let them crash in front of me. But I never do. I'm always like, I'm going to race. Something's going to happen. I can get through here. I can get through here. And, oh, man, feel for them.
We'd mentioned, 23 cars in the lead pack. That's still a healthy number, but a far cry from the 39 who took to the green flag when this feature race began. So it is showing that there is some attrition. That one quick repair has given many drivers an opportunity to reset the cars, get a brand new one out there when maybe they otherwise would have been damaged and no longer competitive. But I think the fact that we're seeing the amount of cars in the lead pack start to dwindle shows that drivers have now burned through a quick repair and are still getting involved in incidents. And really, if at this point, if you're going to pit road to get a car fixed up or to use a quick repair, I'm not sure how good your chances of racing for the checkered flag are. Now, I will say anybody on the lead lap, on the last lap at Daytona, has a chance to win the race. But this restart is definitely going to push us into overtime. We are coming to 2 laps to go this time by, so it will not finish in regulation, and it will be our first attempt at a green-white checker 2-lap shootout overtime finish. So you're not going to have a ton of time to make some moves. You thought that last lap on the restart was crazy. They may be going 4 lanes wide trying to get that $4,000 top prize here.
I mean, I would if I had the space. $4,000 to win a sim race is incredible. I regret not trying to qualify for this thing. I don't know what I'm doing here.
What are we doing up here, Gary? Well, I'll go to Jesse. Right, I'll go to Jesse on this one. Jesse, made $25,000 that the ERA has given away over the course of these events, and last year with those 2021 special events. I know you mentioned Equity Prime Mortgage as the lights go off on top of the pace car. Not only are they a huge part of what you guys are doing with your Xfinity Series program, but obviously an integral part of being a major sponsor here with the E-Racing Association.
Yeah, Eddie and the team over at EPM, Equity Prime Mortgage, have been absolutely incredible in just supporting all our efforts, whether it's on esports or real life motorsports. Definitely want to give big props to them. Anyone looking for any type of mortgages, just head over to www.epm.net. They can help you out, put you in your dream home. They are all about empowering people more. And what better way to empower people by giving them the opportunity to own a home. So if you're looking to buy a home anytime, just hit up EPM, www.epm.net. racing.net, and they can help you out. But big thanks to Eddie and his crew. They're absolutely incredible. They're looking to continue to grow that business, grow that company, and just be at the top of their game, which they are right now. So big thank you so much. Thank you so much, EPM, for everything you do for esports, motorsports, and what we got going on coming up here in the future.
Coming to the green flag, guys. Who are we looking for? Anybody got a pick?
It's tough. It's tough to say. It is Daytona, but it's gonna be a Chevrolet. Put it that way.
Yeah, I'm looking at
power. They're 1, 2, 3, 4 right now, Gary.
Yeah, I'm looking at Logan. I think he's got a lot of experience here. Obviously, Casey. Those two are going to be battling out, but you got guys like Jeremy Edwards and Francisco Villarreal. Hey, they could sneak by and get it if these guys get into each other.
Some pushes
the
happening.
Equity Prime Mortgage green flag. We are back underway. An early move to the outside for Logan Clamp at the control car. He wants to work the top. He is hooked up with Casey Kerwin now. On the outside, the place to be. But now here comes that 17 of Edwards fighting to back. But a lot of pushing makes me nervous off of 2.
I don't know what's going to happen here. When you get pushed under the yellow line, you come back up. A lot of stuff can happen in there, wrecking again. Oh,
man.
We were close. We were close.
Thought maybe we were going to get away with that one because those cars were well off the racing surface. It was only Matthew Lee and then the 17 machine down there with him, Jeremy T. Edwards. Of course, the advantage to racing on the surface is we take a look back on the board with Matthew Lee there is you don't have to throw a yellow for a safety concern. You only need to throw a yellow, obviously, if there's a major wreck on the field. But this all started with Lee. I said the pushing made me nervous. Look at the 57. He's pushing the 17 off the corner. Is going to get into him a little bit right here on the left rear. It loosens him up. He is slow the whole way down the back straightaway, and then is just trying to force his way in line and squeezes up right there. He tags the 04 Matthew Lee, and it sends both of them off and into the grass and out of this race.
Oof, man, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But what do you expect? I mean, that's what's going to happen. They're racing for $5,000. Everyone watching this right now, I don't know if you understand. $5,000 cash. This isn't credits. This isn't crypto. This isn't NFTs. This is $5,000 real cash that you can take and go do whatever you want to do with it. Now, the winner doesn't take home $5,000, but the winner takes $4,000, which is awesome. And then the rest of the top 5, they take home some pretty decent cash too.
I know what I would do with the $4,000. I would take it. I would put a down payment on a mortgage through EPM.
There you go. It is.
I like that.
It's. I mean, for a lot of people, you talk about how much of a passion this is for sim racing. We talk about the different levels of experience that the drivers in the field have, right? So many drivers in this field race as a hobby, right? I mean, it would be life-changing for many of them to get a $4,000 check that could go to things like bills, to the mortgage, to something that they've been saving up for. Not everybody is like a Logan Clampett or a Casey Kerwin, Jesse, competing for hundreds of thousands of dollars annually in the top ranks of the iRacing service. So just goes to show you again, when we talk about some of these series racing for crazy money, it kind of can distort how much $4,000 could mean to somebody.
Yeah, no, it's true. For those racing in the Coca-Cola series, there's 40 drivers or so on, but that are competing for that big prize money at the end of the year. But that's why we put on these ERA events here, because we want to give people opportunities throughout the year in between whatever else they're doing out of the E-Racing Association. We want to give them the opportunity to win real cash right now. They don't have to wait till the end of the year. It's not like, hey, you have to place in a certain amount of points so that by the end of the year you win a certain amount of money. No, you win this race right now. You finish second, you finish third, you finish fourth, you finish fifth. You get cash right now. Put it in your pocket, do whatever you want to do with it. And that's what we want to do. We want to be that type of, in a way, like a chili bowl, right? We're not a full season where you're racing for points. We're just these one-off events that get put on each quarter. These big iRacing events, and people in cash right now can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, it really adds another level of realism to simulated racing. That pressure of competing for prize money is, not something you would normally get on a sim. So it's, I think it's a really good thing for the community to have these events and really give anyone an opportunity to put some cash in their pocket. And, maybe you win this on a G27 and you use this money to upgrade, and now you've got a direct drive wheel, and it helps launch your career in sim racing to get yourself up to the Coke Series. It's an incredible opportunity to be able to compete in these events, and it's, man, like I said, I wish I was down there racing with these guys right now, watching everybody make their moves and seeing what they're doing. Watching it from the blimp cam, I've already won the race in my head like 4 times, so.
Right, gives you a different perspective, right? Where the gaps are, where you could make the moves. And I know that, Gary, you touched earlier on how critical the teams and spotters could be as well, Jesse. Something else that carries over from the real world here to the virtual world is a lot of these drivers aren't using the automated iRacing spotter, which is just an automated voice telling you car inside, car outside. A lot of these people actually have teammates on the headset with them, letting them know where the runs are coming from and helping guide them through the field.
Yeah, that's true. You can use a real live spotter, or you can use the virtual spotter. The virtual spotter is pretty good, but a real life one can see everything that's going on, can notice what's happening, can listen to chatter, all that stuff. So, it just depends what your preference is. But these folks are about to get lined up again. They're about to fight for this $5,000. These are real people, real ERA members. By the way, only ERA members can compete in these events. You got to sign up to be an ERA member before you can compete, and they are about to fight for this $5,000 right now. And hey, guess what? We put ERA members on real life cars. So be in the eRacing Association, compete in these events, and get yourself on a real life race car, your name. We do that, and we're about to see who's about to take home some prize money.
So second attempt at a green-white checker overtime finish to the Equity Prime Mortgage green flag, and off and away we go. Down the back straightaway, a tandem breaks out into the race lead as Casey Kerwin pushes Logan Clampett. Donovan Strauss is there in third. 3 wide for fourth. The 23rd. It's hooked down. That is Francisco Villarreal, who gets spun down to the inside. No caution, though. We stay green. Do they get to the white flag, led by Clampett?
They're fighting.
They're
Somebody else gets hurt. That's another wreck, but they're still going out when the caution comes out right before they cross the line.
And barrel rolling to the start-finish line, Casey Kerwin finally comes to a halt
now
after another huge incident. There was a couple there. First one down the back straightaway. The 24 got hooked. We got away with that one. And then right here, Kerwin pinching up on the outside. He's got no help. Right there. That car on the inside pushed up just enough to come over the nose of the 41 machine. It was Reed Christensen. They both went into the outside wall. And then when the rest of the cars came in is when Kerwin got that punt that sent him airborne.
Sheesh. Wow.
It's a good thing he doesn't race in VR, that's for sure.
I race in VR. VR is fun. I like the VR. VR is actually really good for that immersion. Yeah, you do get a little dizzy when things like this happen, when you start tumbling over and over. You can close your eyes or take the VR off and wait till it's over. Hopefully you don't have a full stomach of stuff you don't want in there, or else it might be coming up. The VR can get you a little dizzy, a little nauseous every once in a while, but hate to see it. Hate to see it. They've been fighting so hard just to get here, only to get destroyed.
And this will push us to our final attempt at a overtime finish. Another look at the tumble that Casey Kerwin took there. Several drivers involved in that incident, again taking more big names out of contention here. And the question now had been to this point, can we get to the white to make this race official? That is no longer a concern, because this is, I believe, the third and final attempt at a green-white checker finish, which means that this is it. It doesn't matter if you get 10 feet, once we take the green, either the yellow or the checkered flag will end this race. We do not need to get to the white for it to be official. A yellow flag before the one to go signal would end the race. The field would be frozen at the moment of yellow. And I'll tell you what, normally I'm not a fan of being the lead car on an overtime finish at Daytona, especially with how racy these cars have been, guys. But Logan Clampett has been the control car for the last several restarts. He has held on to this point. Can he hang on for just one more?
It's going to be a tough one. I don't know. You just don't know what's going to happen here at Daytona. There's so many different things. I mean, even whoever's in the front row right now, it doesn't mean that you're going to remain there. It's just so much different than other tracks. Road courses, short tracks, intermediate tracks, 2 mile, you name it. It's just, this place is a lot different than this place. It doesn't matter even if you start on the front row or starting even right behind them. So many different things can happen. I mean, a few years ago in the Daytona 500, I remember watching it. I can't remember who was up front, but whoever it was, he was leading all the way until almost the final corner, and just one little wiggle, and he fell from first all the way back to 15 that quick. So it's just anything can happen. You really don't know until they're literally about to cross the line, and even then, things happen.
Yeah, there's one thing I do know about this finish. There's a lot of talent at the front of the field. Logan Clampett, Donovan Strauss, Max Brady, these guys they live in the sim. They're on here all the time. They're practicing. They're going to know exactly what they have to do here to win this race.
But the thing is, a bumper right behind them can wipe out that talent easily.
Yep. In a matter of seconds, it could be gone. That is very true. You know, and there's some underdog stories in here too. Guys like Caulfield and Gulata, I mean, they're up here mixing it up with Coke Series drivers. That alone is an awesome experience, you know, and to come out on top of and maybe beat these guys heads up, this is going to get wild.
We said it at the very start of the night that everybody has an equal opportunity to win this race. You got so many pro-level drivers in here, the likes of Clampett and Strauss, who will lock out the front row. Kerwin, Maines, Busa, and some other drivers who got taken out a little bit earlier. But you talk about the underdogs, right? I mean, you got Gerardo Rodriguez and Braden Black in the top 10, a couple of B-level licensed drivers. So they are all in contention, fighting against the very best drivers on the iRacing service for a shot right here, right now at $4,000. For the last time tonight, the pace car yields to the 51 of Logan Clampett, and we take the Equity Prime Mortgage green flag. 2 laps to go at Daytona.
Great start for Donovan Strauss. Look for him to drop down and get Logan behind him. Going into one here. I think he might be a little too far out, though, down the back. That top side's going to have a huge run here.
He's kind of a sitting duck right now. He's going to get a bit of drafting help as Clampett gets up to the bumper. 3 wide. Here we go. It's Max Brady up the
6
inside.
wide, 7
They are
wide.
all over the racetrack now.
How are they gonna make it?
Straight away. Directly behind. Can we race this one out, though? Clampett now pushing Donovan Strauss, trying to pull away to come to the white flag.
Yeah, and look at Max here. He's going to get a big run on these guys. Let's see where he takes it going to the white here. He's going to look to the high side.
Wow.
The white flag's in the air. This race is official. There's a trio up front. Devin George wants to latch on, but it looks like Clampett wants to put Strauss, push him out in front, so those two can fight for it off before. Let's see what the rest of the field can do. Here comes Galata, the 26. Braden Black now to the outside off of 2.
Oh my goodness, they're battling. What's going to happen?
Maines on the top.
He's making a
huge run.
Huge run. Is he going to slip in?
No help, though.
No help at all. Why didn't somebody take that? He had such a good run. He had the speed. Someone could have taken that and worked their way up front. Now they're trying to get behind him.
Here comes the move.
Limp it to the outside. Oh, he's going to go too high.
Oh, he comes out. He takes out the leader.
Strauss gets taken out. Who survives?
Wow.
It's Beeson. Cameron Jr. No. The 43 of Garrett Maines feels it on the inside at the very last moment. And Maines, the $4,000 winner.
Wow. Unreal. Wow. That is absolutely unreal.
I mean, let's watch how far back Garrett Maines comes off these corners on the last lap of this race. We saw the moves to the outside. This is off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. We saw the run he had, right?
Wow.
Tons of speed, but then it died out. He lost the drafting support, and at this point, we're going into turns 3 and 4. He is the 6th car in line, now the 7th as the 45 gets alongside. But Clampett goes high for the race lead, gets put into the outside wall. Cameron thinks he's home free right here, and then the push, Maines underneath. He is going to have to owe Aaron Ramon something, because that 36 car gave Garrett Maines the push of his life to the checkered flag.
Wow. Yeah, what a finish for Garrett. He's had quite a roller coaster of a week and came so close to winning the Coke Series race, and now $4,000 he's taken home. That's incredible. Where did he come from?
Out of nowhere. That's sim racing right there. That's racing, and I know he is ridiculously excited. I wish we had a webcam on him to just see whatever excitement that's just going on right now. He's probably jumping up with joy while trying to drive this car all the way back around and probably do a burnout, do a donut. I mean, when you come from 8th on you're basically sitting in 8th and you come back to win the race on that final lap. That's why I was saying it doesn't matter if you're on the front row, second row, third. It just doesn't matter. You can come from wherever, at Daytona, Talladega, wherever. You can come from wherever and win this race. It doesn't matter even if it's on the final lap, final corner. And he just showed it right there in his Chevrolet Camaro CL1. Good job.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've covered more than 1,000 miles of racing here at Daytona in the last week. I saw Garrett Maines finish 2nd in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race here last Tuesday night. I saw Garrett Maines finish 2nd in one of the top splits of the iRacing Daytona 500, but 2nd no more, because Garrett Maines is your race winner of tonight's Equity Prime Mortgage Omega Cup SpringBowl from Daytona Beach, Florida. We take a look at the full race results, and yes, Jesse, your Chevy prediction was correct by 0.065 seconds. Maines gets the win atop of Jason Cameron Jr. and Aaron Ramon, your top 3. We'll try to get a word with them in just a few. Logan Clampett, Garrett Conrad, some heavy hitters inside of the top 5. Ahead of Max Brady, Devin George, Jonathan Cofield, Donovan Strauss, and Casey Kerwin, the top 10, Gary.
Yeah, we got Michael Sturgill finishing 11th, Reed Christensen in 12th, Jeremy Edwards coming home in lucky number 13, Joseph Gulata coming home 14th, Giume Hesnault coming home 15th, Francisco Villarreal coming home 16th, Christopher Tate in 17th, Raymond Doust coming home 18th, Gerardo Rodriguez coming home 19th, and Braden Black coming home 20th.
Rest of these drivers all several laps down. It will include Micah Davenport, Matthew Lee, who led laps earlier, along with Matt Busa, Jeremy Little, and Hunter Parsons, your top 25 finishers in this race. Ben Horst, Alex Thurber, Ryan Jones, Julio Villalobos Jr., and Mikey Mingo, your top 30.
Yeah, and we're looking at Matthew Baker finishing 31st. Coming home 32nd, 22 laps down, is Cody Smith. 33rd is Mike Witt, followed by Daryl Young in 34th, Mike Sturgill in 35th, Colin Bowden, 31 laps down, finishing 36th, 37th for David Cesar, Matthew Hughes. We were kind of following him earlier. He came home 38th after a rough night. Kyle Vallejos coming home in 39th, and rounding out the 40 car field is Julian Ricci.
Look top to bottom at your Equity Prime Mortgage full race results from tonight's Omega Cup Spring Bowl in Daytona. In thrilling fashion on the third and final overtime restart attempt, it was Garrett Maines who took home the checkered flag. Jesse, why don't we talk with our winner?
Garrett, how is it going, Garrett?
Well, if you'd asked me about 2 laps ago, I would have told you something totally different. I cannot believe what just happened.
That is absolutely amazing. I mean, you were on the final lap. You were sitting somewhere around 8th or so. I mean, what was going on in your mind on that final lap, being back there? You know, you made a power move to get to the outside, but no one went out there with you. They left you out to dry, but you didn't give up. I mean, what was going on in your head at that point?
Well, you know, at this point, I am so happy nobody did hop up because I think that might have changed history. But I got to give a huge shout out to the guy that did hook up there at the end. I think it was Michael. Big props to him. I thought for sure I was going to get hung in the middle there, but he gave me the momentum I needed when they did wreck. I had a insane run on Jason there at the end, and I can't believe that played out that way. Like, I had joked with my stream. I was like, I hope that sub is worth a miracle, and we sure as heck got one tonight.
You did an absolutely amazing job just staying with it, just sticking with it, not giving up. At the end of the day, in order to finish first, you must first finish. You stayed out there. I mean, there's a lot of people who got wrecked out this race. I mean, what was going through your mind as you saw all these wrecks starting to happen on the second half of the race? Because the first half was actually very clean, aggressive driving, but very clean.
Yeah, I knew it was going to get interesting there at the end. And when we started getting those cautions, I was trying to work with Matt Lee and Max Brady there, and I could not push Max. I don't know what it was. We just couldn't get linked up and go anywhere. Like, even though I could link up, I couldn't go fast with him. And so we just ended up getting buried. But we were able to rebound there in the last 2 laps. And honestly, like, I needed carnage. And unfortunate for, some, but man, I seas parted. I don't think that could have played out any better. This is probably the best comeback since the Podium 500 on Sunday. This was the exact same situation, but this time I made it to the line.
You made it all the way through. So what does it mean for you to now $4,000? You just won $4,000 for racing at home in a simulator, what most will call just a video game. You just won $4,000. How does that make you feel?
I don't think that's set in yet, Jesse. Ask me tomorrow. I think I'll realize what that is, but it's huge. That's by far the biggest win I've ever had on iRacing. And, I was streaming it all tonight, and you could see the emotion for sure when I crossed the line. I think there was a little bit of disbelief.
Yes, there is. You did an amazing job, and you won with the Chevrolet, which is awesome. I mean, got a little bit of biases there, but I was also seeing you competing in these events, always coming back, showing your skills, showing what you can do, always fighting, and you never know what's going to happen. You could have came in this race, you could have got wrecked lap 3, 4, and been out of it completely, and that's it. But you fought through, you stayed true, you continue to come back to these events over and over. What do these events mean to you?
Well, it's been a lot of fun over the last, I think I've been in the last 3 events, so this one and the past 2. And the first one was COTA, and that one was a blast. It was, I think, my first race ever on that track in a stock car. And I finished 3rd, and it came down to the wire. Like, the last corner was for the podium. And it was a blast. I enjoyed it. I came back for the Bristol race in the winter. Finished 2nd there, so close. The caution screwed me over. If I had one less, I could have won there. And then tonight we finally got the win. It's just been that that one spot at a time. I didn't think it would actually happen that way, but I noticed it right before I gridded, and it played out.
You did an amazing job. You took that 31 up front. You ended up winning this race. It's so cool to see. It's crazy. It sucks for the other folks who were right there and had that shot and just got wrecked out of it. But you know what? You fought through, you got through, and I'm so happy to see that you're able to come away with the win. It was exciting to watch from the booth. You did a great job, and thank you so much for continuing to compete in these events, and we hope to see you in more, Garrett. And we look forward to watching you enjoy your prize money that you're taking home now.
yeah, I really appreciate you guys putting this on. It's been a blast, and looking forward to the next one. I got to give a big shout out to the guys at ChevyLiners.com, Leaf Filter Gutter Protection, Colleague Racing, Chris Rice, Matt Colleague, all the guys at Elliott Sadler Esports. Big shout out to Max there, as well as Matt Lee, Donnie, for everybody that helped that make that happen at the end. I cannot believe that played out the way it did, but it's awesome to be able to get the win for those guys. And also shout out to Lennox and MCU Body. Man, insane. I can't wait to go celebrate.
Good job, Garrett. And thank you so much once again for competing. We will see you at the next one, which, by the way, will be in a few months. It should be here in May when we do our Summer Bowl.
I'll be there.
Well, that is your $4,000 main event winner tonight, Garrett Maines and Jesse. The flip side of that celebration is the close call that Jason Cameron came with up until maybe the final 25 feet before the start-finish line. He had a chance to go for the race win. You're now talking about the driver who finishes in second.
I don't even know what to say.
Well, you did an epic job finishing there in second. What was going on in your mind right there? Because, I mean, you weren't sitting there on the front row to start that last restart. So what was going on in your mind when all of a sudden you found your way up front to finishing second with all that chaos happening right in front of you?
You know, I gotta hand it to my spotter. Alex, he made a hell of a call. He said stay bottom, and I just stayed bottom and trusted what he said. And I don't even know. It's just it was a crazy restart. I mean, I just don't even know what to think right now. I mean, it was crazy.
Man, yeah, that is absolutely chaotic. Just watching it here from the booth, seeing what was happening. I mean, we were sitting there trying to guess, who might have the win at the end because we're looking at the, front row, second row, all that stuff. But I mean, you were able to, in that 44 car, beautiful 44, very nice paint scheme going on there.
Oh, thank you.
You were able to, you were able to make your way up there. So, now finishing second in our Omega Cup Series Spring Bowl, what does that mean for you to have all these viewers out there who were watching this race? It was being broadcasted by Podium. It's on iRacing's Facebook, all over the internet. People are watching you compete. What does that make you feel like?
Jesse, it's an honor, to be honest with you. I mean, a guy like yourself, you're an awesome guy. And you've done a great job with this, and it's all I can say is it's an honor to race here with some of these big names. I'm not a big name. I'm not a Coke Series driver and none of that. And I'm here racing with these guys, and you opened up the door for me to be able to do that with this ERA Omega Cup. I mean, it's just an honor, man. And that's all I can say about it. It's just awesome.
Well, we put on these events for people like you. We want to give people an opportunity to compete for real prize money. We want to make people feel like a pro. At the end of the day, there's not many opportunities out there to go and race for money, right? You can do it in real life, but it costs so much money just to even get to that point. But to do it on a sim, that's what we're about. And we really enjoy watching people like you come and compete in these events and have the opportunity to compete for this cash. And it's cool to see that you're able to, keep that thing fairly clean. It looks like you had a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah, you're able to, at least bring it home. Now, who do you have supporting you, helping you in these sim racing events? Is it you just doing it alone, or do you have sponsors, or what?
So, I mean, first and foremost, I gotta obviously thank the wife. She there's a lot to go on around the house, but she lets me come down here and race on the sim every once in a while. So, hats off to her. She's awesome. It supports me in everything I do. So, hats off to her. My spotter, Alex, he's so religious. I mean, that kid's got school at, I think, 8 a.m. tomorrow, and he's here spotting for me. It's a little past midnight where we're at. So he's, hats off to him. And, just a couple sponsors, Nerditudes, they're a good group of guys that, I kind of started hanging out with recently. Martin Sports Apparel, those guys, I'm a sponsored driver for them. And they've done a lot for me in the last few weeks, just getting some stuff lined up for iRacing. And just want to shout out, I do have a sponsor, Cameron Trucking, which is my grandfather's own trucking company he's owned for a really long time. I like having that on the car just to kind of give some family representation to him.
That's awesome. And guess what? There's a lot of viewers who saw that all over the car as you went in and had that amazing finish, especially with all that chaos going on. So good job to you. Thank you so much for competing in our ERA events. Hope to see you at the next one, competing and fighting your way up front. It'll be a fun one to watch. So thank you so much for coming and competing, Jason.
Yes, thank you, Jesse. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that is your second place finisher tonight, Jason Cameron Jr., who comes home second step on the podium. A big thanks to Garrett Maines and Jason for talking with us. And the 36 machine of Aaron Ramon comes home in third position tonight. Gary, let's see if we can talk with him now.
Yeah, Aaron, third place tonight. Kind of quiet night for you overall, but you got in there right at the end when there was the carnage. It looks like you got through it. And what was that like driving through that massive wreck coming into the tri-oval there at the checkered flag to come home third?
I mean, thanks for having me on. I mean, just holding the gas and just hoping I make it through. Just stuck next to the wall, watched them wreck to the left, and when I knew I was clear, I was just home free home. But yeah, it was back to the front all day. I know I was able to stay up in the front early, and then a wreck put me in the back. And I mean, it was a huge roller coaster going back and forth.
Yeah, it's always kind of that's plate racing or super speedway racing in a nutshell. Do you get a lot of experience with these cars, in this configuration, or was this your first time out there running this? What's
I've been doing a lot of races. I tried to get into the Podium 500 a couple weeks ago or days ago. I did the iRacing NIS Daytona 500 on Saturday. A lot of practicing on qualifying and test sessions, and then this race I was just hoping something great would turn out, and it did.
Awesome. Now, how does it feel to be racing up there with some of these top level sim racers racing for, the $4,000 to win prize, the $5,000 purse? I mean, what does that mean to a sim racer like yourself?
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, being able to race with Casey Kerwin, I saw Anthony Alfredo there too. I mean, it's such a surreal feeling to be racing against some of the greats in sim racing. I mean, those guys are phenomenal.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you in the next one, the Summer Bowl, I believe, or the Spring Bowl. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that's that. We hope to see you in that one and come and defend your podium finish and maybe try to take it on and get a win.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll be definitely attempting the Summer Bowl. See if we can get another podium top 3 finishes. That'll be awesome.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to it, and great run tonight, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And it is your third place finisher in this one, Aaron Ramon. Again, all your top finishers get a share, the better part of that $5,000 purse. But the big story is Garrett Maines, who walks away $4,000 richer than he entered this evening. I know I mentioned at the top of the night, we've seen so many different drivers win this, and just looking at the list of previous winners, Jesse, Parker Retzlaff won the inaugural race in the Winter Bowl back in the fall of 2020. We've seen Mike Sturgill, Vicente Salas, and Garrett Conrath win these events. Now Garrett Maines can join that list of race winners. And by the way, since that's 2 Garretts in a row now, it's been 152 days since anybody not named Garrett has won an Omega Cup race. Great luck for Garrett at the end. I talked about those high-profile second-place finishes for him on the service here recently, and you could tell even for a driver at the very top level of sim racing competition, this win means a ton to him.
Yeah, no, it definitely means a ton to them. I mean, it's just awesome to see these drivers getting the opportunity to come out, compete, get the viewership that we get for these events. I mean, a lot of people watching them, all eyes on them competing tonight. I know it's late for a lot of people, depending on what coast you are. If you're on the West Coast, it's around 9 p.m. right now. If you're on the East Coast, it's midnight. We got people competing in these events from other countries who are staying out till 3 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever it is, to compete for this prize money. But to go out there virtually actually compete and have the opportunity to win real cash prizes, $4,000 to win, and even second, third, fourth, fifth place, they win cash too. It's not like it's just first and that's it. I mean, you can still win in that top 5. So it's just really cool to see Garrett win that, take that home. It's absolutely incredible. I know there's a lot of stuff going on leading up to that with the chaos, the wrecks, this and that. You know, some people complaining, oh, did he go below the yellow line or this and that? It looks like he got shoved down there. You know, I don't think he purposely went there. He knows what it was, but you know, just a lot of stuff going on. But you know what? He fought through. He made it through. He made it happen. And it's just absolutely cool just to see that a normal person who's not a professional driver out there competing on TV can jump on the sim and compete in front of a lot of viewers and be able to do it with, you know, great focus, being calm the whole time, and end up taking home the win and winning real cash prizes. So it's just great to see this just before our eyes and just how much the world has changed and now really embraced sim racing, have embraced esports. And it's great to have sponsors on board who believe in it too, like Equity, Prime, Mortgage, being on board for how long they've been on board. It's been absolutely incredible. So big thanks to all the folks who are supporting this, who are watching. We continue to have these events and we will continue to grow the E-Racing Association. Anyone who wants to get involved, just head to eragaming.gg. You can sign up to be a member. You can compete in our iRacing events or any other events that we have. Or you can just watch them. If you just want to watch, you can spectate, share on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, all that stuff. You know, share us around, show your friends that, hey, sim racing's a thing and it's cool. We just want to thank everyone who's involved in this podium, everybody who's just, you know, been supportive of these events and continue to let us grow this thing.
Well, Gary, we were happy to have you as well as part of our coverage here tonight. And, you know, we talked about a lot of the sim-specific things, this new car to NASCAR and therefore a newish car to iRacing, right? We had these next-gen cars last year, but they've been updated to 2022 specs and parameters. And I think we talked a lot about how competitive these cars are at a plate track like this. And we saw it all week long, and we saw it here tonight again, just how competitive this package is to put on some really good racing.
Yeah, it really is. It's like I said at the beginning of the show, it's one of the best super speedway packages that we've had on the sim. And it really, you know, it proved a lot of points tonight. It was very racy. It was very exciting. There was a lot of, you know, back and forth lead swapping. However, the most experienced guys were the ones up front that had a shot to win it at the end. And you look at Garrett Baines, 3 second place finishes in big events this week leading up to this. Finally gets it done. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. Has all the experience in the world in these cars. I mean, you couldn't put together a better, you know, finish to the SpringBowl. Love these events. Like I said earlier, you know, any chance that us sim racers have an opportunity to compete for cash and a big prize and really feel the pressure of what it's like to have a big prize to shoot for and heavy competition and newer guys get to mix it up with more experienced guys and vice versa. It's just it's an awesome experience and I'm really happy to be a part of it and look forward to the next one.
We're now, you know, starting to do repeats, right? I mean, we saw with the SpringBowl last year, it was here at Daytona. Jesse, I know you already let everybody know, of course, if you want to be in these races and you want to race for that purse, you do need to be an ERA member. You've told everybody how to get involved. I know you kind of hinted about the Summer Bowl coming up. Can you give us any more of a tease of what we'll see this summer?
Yeah, this summer, you know, it'll be interesting, you know, maybe a little road course action or something like that, you know, who knows. But we typically like to, for the Summer Bowl, have a road course race, so we give people opportunity to show their skills in turning not only left, but also right. A lot of people say that, oh, if you drive stock cars, you only know how to turn left. No, that's not true. These cars give a great show on the road courses. So we like to mix that in. We throw in short tracks, we throw in super speedways, we throw it all in there so we can let people see what these things are all about, especially in the sim race world. So looking forward to having everyone for the Summer Bowl coming up here in a few months. Sign up now for the ERA, for the E-Racing Association at eragaming.gg. We have exhibition races we put on every 2 weeks so that you're not bored in between main event to main event. We can do all these little smaller events in between. And guess what? We put our ERA members on real life race cars. Some of the races that we compete in real life in the Xfinity series, we put our ERA members, their actual names on the race car. So if you want your name on a race car, at least just go join.
That's how you do it. You want to get involved to be on track the next time we say let's go racing for an E-Racing Association Omega Cup event. But until that next time, that is it for us here tonight for the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Have a lot of people we want to say thank you to making this possible. Of course, for Matt Casto, Kevin Johnson, and Sean Yoder at the E-Racing Association, for Brandon Davis, Stephen Davis, and Michael Hall in race control, for Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore at Podium Esports, and of course for your broadcast team tonight. For our producer Ryan Bauer downstairs, for Gary Sexton, Jesse Wuji, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you so much for tuning in and congratulate Garrett Maines as your 2022 EPM Omega Cup Spring Bowl champion, who walks at it tonight with $4,000. We'll see you next time when the Summer Bowl returns to Podium Esports.
It means a lot to have this opportunity to race full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
We're reaching the community that needs to be transformed in terms of unlocking their mental potential with this opportunity with EPM.
The American gift is right here. It's embodied in this opportunity. It's embodied in all of us. It's not a dream, it's an opportunity. This is America, and everything is possible.
I'm just super happy and proud to be part of this whole team and this organization and everything we're going to do from here on out.
When you put that combination of talent, hard work, and opportunity together, it lends itself to be something great. And I look forward to seeing what it matures to.
First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody out there. Very grateful that we get to do this, we get to have fun, and more importantly, that we're all going to make a difference together. Thank you so much.
you struggle finding someone to race with, someone to compete with, or flat out someone just to give the Gap sauce, well, you should check out the Gap'em app.
Gap'em is the only app that will allow you to race people locally, share videos, and attend events.
And after you race, you can actually take your racing video and post it in the Gap'em Postum section so the whole world can see. And even if you're not a racer, you can always head to our Gap'em app crew mode section where you and some friends can continue to meet up, go to car meets, go to car events, car shows, anything that has nothing to do with going to the racetrack.
Gap'em is a one-stop shop for the car world.
Looks like I just got a match on the Gap'em app. Time to serve someone some Gapple beans.
Ready, set, Gap'em.